All right. Welcome, everybody, to the deep dive. We're all about getting you up to speed quickly. And today we're taking a look at a pretty crucial part of how our world works, really, the trucking industry.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone's felt those supply chain issues lately, right? And we've got a whole stack of reports here that lay out some pretty big challenges, specifically a shortage of drivers
Definitely.
hitting the road, and a kind of simultaneous surge in artificial intelligence, AI changing the game and how things get moved around.
Yeah, you've likely felt it yourself, right? Those supply chain hiccups,
Yeah.
everyone has. What we're going to explore today is that intersection where we don't have enough drivers and AI is suddenly so powerful.
It's a turning point, totally.
It really is.
So, two big areas we're going to look at. One, what's behind this lack of truckers? Why aren't people getting behind the wheel? And then, how is AI stepping in? Where does it fit? Our goal today is to make this clear. You'll get those aha moments, but we're not going to drown you in details.
Exactly. The reports we've got, they highlight the human side of trucking, like what it's actually like to do the job.
Right, the reality of it.
But also how fast the tech is changing.
Yeah.
It's that push and pull between the two that's really fascinating.
Okay, so let's get right to it. Driver shortage, everyone's heard about it. We know trucks move everything, but how bad is it really?
Oh, it's significant, for sure. The data is pretty clear. By 2032, the U.S. could be short over 160,000 drivers.
Wow.
Just to let that sink in, that's a huge logistical problem, and it has consequences way beyond just trucking.
160,000, that affects how we live day to day, right? So break it down. Why should I, the average person, care about this?
The most direct impact is going to be delays. If there aren't enough drivers to get things where they need to go quickly, everything slows down. Deliveries for, I don't know, stuff you bought online, groceries, all of it.
Makes sense.
That slowdown messes with the entire supply chain, like the backbone of our economy.
It touches everything.
It really does.
All right, so what's going on? Why this shortage? It can't be just one thing, right?
Definitely not. It's a perfect storm of factors, really. One of the biggest is just the age of the workforce. Average truck driver in the U.S. is about 55 years old, and a lot of them are going to retire soon.
Yeah.
Problem is, not enough younger folks are signing up to replace them.
Yeah, it's a tough job, right? Long hours, away from home.
Exactly. Long-haul trucking means a lot of time on the road, irregular sleep, it's physical. That makes it less appealing compared to jobs with, normal hours and few time at home.
And isn't it dangerous too? I mean, driving a truck, all kinds of weather, tight schedule.
No, absolutely. They face tough conditions all the time, huge storms, pressure to meet deadlines. Safety's a big concern too. Even with all the improvements, there's still risk driving those big rigs, and that keeps people away.
Right. It takes a certain kind of person, to handle that.
Yeah.
And it's not just hopping in a car, right? There's training and stuff to become a trucker.
Right, you need a CDL, a commercial driver's license. That means special classes, tests, it costs money, takes time. Compared to other jobs where you can start working quicker, that's a hurdle for a lot of people.
So it's not just about wanting to drive. There's a whole process.
There is.
And I bet there are tons of rules and regulations on top of that.
Oh, tons. The industry's heavily regulated.
Yeah.
Driving hours, how to maintain the truck, safety checks, it's all got to be done by the book. It's important to keep everyone safe.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it adds to the workload and the stress of the job.
I can imagine. And these days, there are so many other jobs out there. People can work in a store, deliver stuff with smaller vans, or even get into tech, right?
Exactly. There are more choices now, and trucking has to compete with jobs that seem, easier, maybe safer, better lifestyle.
So it's not just about trucking itself, it's the whole job market.
It's the big picture, yeah.
Okay, so we get why there's a shortage, but what does that mean for the industry, aside from delays we talked about?
Well, delays mean costs go up for businesses, and then you and me as consumers, right? But it also means trucking companies have to pay more to attract drivers, higher wages, bonuses, that kind of thing. And that's really hard for smaller companies to keep up with.
Right, the big guys have an advantage.
They do.
And all of this, it must affect the whole economy, right? Like everything's connected.
Oh, absolutely. Trucks are essential. So when they're delayed, factories can't get supplies, stores run out of things. You and I pay more, things are harder to find. The whole economy slows down.
It's a ripple effect.
It is.
What about the drivers who are still out there? They must be under a lot of pressure.
Oh, yeah, big time. They're working longer, taking on more, because there are fewer drivers to share the load. That leads to burnout, stress, and that's dangerous. Tired drivers are more likely to have accidents. Plus, since people are leaving the industry, companies are constantly trying to hire and train new drivers, and that's expensive.
It's like a hamster wheel. They can't get off.
Yeah, it's tough.
You mentioned rural areas earlier, how they might be hit harder by this shortage. What did you mean by that?
So think about small towns, places that are harder to get to. They rely on trucks even more to bring in everything they need, food, supplies, you name it.
Right.
Fewer drivers means longer waits, higher prices for those folks. Plus, a lot of drivers might not want to take those longer, more remote routes.
So it makes things even tougher for people who are already kind of isolated.
Exactly.
Okay, so paint a picture for us. If this shortage keeps getting worse, what happens?
Well, things get less reliable, supply chains get weaker, delays and higher prices become the norm. That hurts businesses, slows down the whole economy, makes it harder to try new things, to grow, and it pushes the industry even more towards AI, towards automation, to fill that gap.
Which brings us right to our second big topic, right? AI and trucking. So with this shortage, how is AI being seen as a solution? What are people thinking?
The biggest thing is self-driving trucks. Trucks that use AI to basically drive themselves, make decisions about braking, turning, speed, all that.
Like totally on their own.
Yeah, minimal to no human input.
That sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie. Are these things on the roads now?
Not quite yet. They're mostly in testing, being developed. You won't see them just driving around every day. But what we are seeing more of are semi-autonomous trucks. These have something called ADA, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems.
Oh, ADAS. I've heard of that. What is it exactly?
Think of it as features that help the driver be safer and more comfortable, like lane keeping assist, so you don't drift out of your lane accidentally.
Right.
Collision avoidance systems that automatically brake or steer if there's danger, and adaptive cruise control, which adjusts your speed to keep a safe distance from other cars.
So kind of like autopilot, but for trucks?
Yeah, similar idea.
All right, so what's the big deal? Why are people so excited about AI and these self-driving trucks? What's the upside?
Well, one big one is efficiency. AI can plan the best routes, avoid traffic, use less fuel. That means faster deliveries, lower costs for companies.
That's huge in the business world.
Absolutely. And then there's safety. Human error causes a lot of accidents, right? Fatigue, distractions, that kind of thing. AI doesn't get tired or distracted. It can react instantly to danger, process information from sensors way faster than we can.
So, in theory, it should be safer.
In theory, yeah.
And I guess there's the cost of labor too, right? If you don't need as many drivers, that saves money in the long run.
That's a big factor, definitely. Autonomous trucks could run 24/7. No breaks, no need to pay for wages or benefits. That's a major cost saving.
So there are some big potential advantages, but are we there yet? What are the roadblocks?
Oh, there are plenty. Technically, AI still has trouble with really complex situations, like driving in busy cities with tons of pedestrians or in crazy weather.
Makes sense. Those are tough even for humans.
Right. And then there are the laws, the regulations. Governments are still figuring out how to deal with self-driving vehicles, how to make sure they're safe on our roads. And people in general, are they ready to share the road with driverless trucks? That's a whole other issue.
Yeah, public perception is a big one.
It is.
But AI isn't just about replacing drivers completely, right? I mean, it can be used in other ways, like you said.
Yeah, definitely. AI can make the whole operation smoother, boost efficiency, even with human drivers.
Like how?
Well, think about route planning. AI can look at real-time traffic, weather, all that, and figure out the best route for a human driver to take.
Oh, so the driver benefits directly from the AI.
Exactly. They can avoid delays, get to their destination quicker.
What else?
Predictive maintenance is another big one. AI can analyze data from the truck's sensors and predict when it might break down.
Wow.
So you can fix it before it actually happens. That saves time, money, avoids those breakdowns on the side of the road.
That's smart.
It is. And then there's driver performance monitoring. AI can track how someone's driving, their speed, braking, all that. It can give feedback to help them drive safer and more efficiently.
So kind of like a coach, but digital.
Yeah, exactly. And it can even spot things like if a driver seems tired or distracted, potentially dangerous stuff.
Wow, that's pretty advanced.
It is. And then we have telematics, real-time tracking. So companies can see exactly where their trucks are, what condition they're in, all using AI.
That's got to be helpful for logistics, making sure things arrive on time.
Oh, absolutely. It improves accuracy, security, the whole 9 yards.
So lots of benefits for the companies. But what about the downsides of using all this AI for fleet management?
Well, the biggest one is the cost. Setting up these AI systems, the computers, the infrastructure, it's expensive. Especially for smaller companies, that can be a huge barrier.
Yeah, it's not a cheap upgrade.
Not at all. And then you have to train people, Drivers, dispatchers, everyone needs to learn how to use these new tools.
Right, there's a learning curve.
Definitely. And then there's all the data. These systems generate tons of information. Figuring out what it all means, how to use it effectively, that's a challenge too.
So it's not just plug and play, there's a whole process.
Exactly.
Okay, so AI is changing things, but what does this mean for the actual truck drivers, the people doing the job?
That's the million-dollar question, right? AI is definitely changing what it means to be a truck driver. And yeah, some jobs will be created in tech, in AI development, maintaining these systems, analyzing the data. But there's also the worry that AI will take over driving jobs completely.
That's the big fear, right? Robots taking our jobs.
It is. But realistically, it'll probably be a mix. AI might assist drivers, give them information, warnings, help them out, not necessarily replace them entirely. But the jobs might change, become less about just driving and more about managing the tech.
So a different skill set.
Exactly.
What could be good about this for drivers? What are the potential positives?
Well, AI could make driving safer. Think about those collision warnings, adaptive cruise control, all those things that can help prevent accidents. That reduces stress for the driver, makes the job less demanding mentally and physically.
And that could lead to better work-life balance too, right?
Potentially, yeah. If AI optimizes routes and maybe reduces the total hours drivers have to be on the road, that's more time at home.
And maybe more comfortable trips too, if the AI is doing some of the work.
Yeah, that's possible.
Well, what are drivers worried about? What are the concerns?
The biggest one is obviously job security. If trucks can drive themselves, will companies still need human drivers? That's a valid concern.
Right, it's the unknown.
And those who do keep their jobs, they might need to learn new skills to operate these AI systems. That can be tough for some folks.
So adaptation is key.
It is.
Okay, so let's tie it all together. We have this driver shortage, and we have AI coming into the trucking industry. How are these two things connected?
Oh, they're directly linked. The shortage is a huge reason why companies are turning to AI. They need to find a way to keep goods moving, even without enough drivers.
So AI is kind of a response to the problem.
Exactly. They're hoping self-driving trucks can fill the gap.
But as we said earlier, AI isn't a magic bullet, right?
It's not. The technology is still developing. It needs to be reliable, safe, able to handle all kinds of situations before it can fully take over. And we have to be careful about how fast this all happens.
Right. What happens to all those drivers if they're replaced too quickly?
Exactly. You could have a lot of people out of work. That's a social problem, an economic problem. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about the impact on people.
So it's complex, lots of factors at play.
Very complex.
So where do we go from here? What's the future of trucking?
Well, we're at a crossroads, definitely. Driver shortage is a real problem, and AI has potential. But we can't just rely on tech and forget about the human side.
Right, it's got to be a balance.
It does. The future depends on finding that balance.
Yeah.
Using AI to make things safer, more efficient, but also taking care of the people involved, the drivers, the workers.
So it's not just about trucks, it's about people and technology working together.
Absolutely. That's the key to a good outcome, a sustainable industry.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening look at the trucking industry, the challenges it's facing, and the potential of AI to change things.
It has.
We've talked about the shortage, the limitations of AI, and how these two are connected. It's clear this is a time of big changes, and it affects us all.
It does. As you think about this, think about the bigger picture, too. Automation's coming to a lot of industries. What does that mean for jobs in the future? How do we prepare people for these changes?
Those are the questions we all need to be thinking about.
Purdue.
So if you want to dig deeper, look into the research on self-driving vehicles, see what economists are saying about automation and jobs, and think about how our supply chains will adapt. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.